Eat that crunchy noise when you eat walnuts or things that will make crunchy noises. Facula is the next word. Frank Muir's turn.
You are a Roman citizen, trotting about your business in the city of Rome. Supposing you were an official and had a toga, because that's the easiest way to describe it. You've got your toga draped round. No pockets. So where do you put the Roman equivalent of credit card, loose change, denarii, chariot keys? Where you put these essential things is in a little facula, which is a bag, rather like a Dorothy bag, with a tie top, which you had round your belt.
OK. Now, who do we have? We have Miles Kington.
To the astronomer, a facula is as different from a macula as chalk from cheese, Muir from Campbell, all those. Because they are both sunspots. But whereas the macula is the more common dark sunspot, a sort of celestial blackhead, I can so describe it, the facula is the rarer, brighter than bright, whiter than white sunspot.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Right, Joanna.
Hence the name.
Heraldic device.
A facula, it's a pompous, pedantic word for a highly personal piece of eccentricity, an idiosyncratic notion or action. For instance, I must make this clearer.
You better, in a hurry.
If you always wore your socks over your shoes, or you always spread raspberry jam on your bacon rashers, you are either, in the last case, an American, or in possession of a facula, an eccentric whim.
Yes. So it's the bright as opposed to the dark sunspot. It's a sort of idiosyncrasy, and it's a Roman purse. Patrick.
Well, now, very interesting, all that. Celestial blackheads. It's well known that Romans carried their credit cards in the sleeve. They never had pockets in togas. You know, been to Rome, have you? People with shoes and jam sandwiches on their socks. It has to be the celestial blackhead.
The celestial blackhead of which Miles spoke to our Bluff, because much hinges on this. You got it right. So that's really what it is. It is a bright sunspot, and that makes it 4-all. I could go grinding on, I'm sure, but I like things to end happily, unless I've got it all wrong. Oh, yes, I have. Have I? No, surely it should be.
They are wrong and you are right.
Am I right?
Yes.
It is 4-all. A little bit of grumbling going on behind there, but they'll get to it in time. So at 4-all, I think I'm going to stop everything. Don't you think that's a good idea? Oh, look at them. Toss a coin, he says. And so nobody's won. What a hearty burst of applause that entitles everyone to. There, 4-all, more definitions next week with solid tyres, I don't doubt. Until then, goodbye from Ian Wooldridge, Miles Kington, Rula Lenska, Joanna Lumley, Patrick Campbell, Frank Muir, and goodbye. Hello. Call My Bluff, featuring the man who is tall, dark and crooked, Frank Muir.
Good evening.
Both my guests this week are actors, except one who's an actress. And my first is the actress one, who was in the National Theatre Company and is now in the Royal Shakespeare Company at the Wooldridge, and it is Diana Quick. My second is a very, very good actor indeed, who's in grave danger of becoming a film star. Leaping down the 39 steps comes Robert Powell.
And the ancient mariner himself, Patrick Campbell.
Well, my first guest is a delicious little kind of mixed-up bundle of Australian birth, really, a kind of Russian-Australian, with some kind of German connections. She could only be Anouska Hempel. And my other assistant could be perhaps described as a gentleman jockey, because he'd been galloping around in a horseman riding by. His name is Nigel Havers.
Right. That was fun, but wait till you see this. Now, you get the word Quinkle. It's the first word, and what happens, you may remember, I don't know. Frank Muir and his team defined Quinkle 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are bogus ones, false ones. Only one is true, and that's the one that Patrick and company try and pick out. So off you go, Frank. Quinkle.
This is a family programme, and yet I have to mention a naked light. Because in Scotland, not only St Andrews, but even lesser areas of Scotland even, a quinkle, well, you take a match or a candle, and it starts to like that. And to quinkle is a match or candle which has gone guttering and stuttery and has gone out eventually. Right out, poof, like that. Poof.
So, now Robert Powell gets a go.
If you were driving down the M4 and happened to turn on your radio, car radio, in a remote part of Worcestershire and hear a local radio station, it is very possible you could tune into a weather forecast, in which case you could hear a man say there will be bright periods, broken perhaps by slight quinkles of rain. Because a quinkle is, in fact, a Worcestershire word meaning a shower or a scattering. You could imply it to rain, snow, even Worcestershire sauce.
Good. Right, that's what he says it is. Now, what does Diana Quick say?
Any card players amongst you?
Yes?
This is a card game, better known as 5-card loo.
Ooh.
This is the easy version. Quinkle.
That's fairly runic. You're stopping there, right? She says it's the easy version of 5-card loo. It's a sprinkle of this, that, or the other, Worcester sauce, rain, anything, and it's a light going out, or just flickering out in Scotland. Patrick, your choice.
Well, it's impossible, the first word.
That's what you're paid to do, Paddy.
What about a 5-card loo?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people in there, isn't there? A Worcestershire sprinkling drizzle. Or a fluttering match or candle. Well, we believe it to be... I said, without consulting other members of my staff... I believe it's a kind of 5-card loo game.
5-card loo. You nearly made a joke there, Patrick. I noticed it. Now, Diana, you said that, true or bluff?
Far too true. Let's see the bluff, Diana, please. Thank you very much.
Not a card game, not that. Someone gave the true definition, though. One of those 3 over there. He's got to own up now. There you see. It's a light flickering out in Scotland, or in certain parts of Scotland. Tunk is the next one. Patrick, have a go at tunk.
Tunk was a tax. It was levied on the Suffragette Welsh nation in the 13th and 14th centuries. On this matter, historians are not in full agreement. Some of them believe it was a tax on private land in the Denbighshire, but you call it a county. But others believe it wasn't confined to Denbighshire. But on the whole, it was a 13th, 14th century Welsh tax on land.
Yes, now Nigel Havers has a go.
A tunk is a vast wooden bowl that women in Cheshire used to use to do their washing in, because they didn't have washing machines then. Unfortunately, their husbands used to use it as well, because they used to fill it with hot boiling water and then dunk little dead pigs in. Little things. So that they could pluck out the rather grisly hairs. So it's a vast wooden tub.
Vast wooden tub, he says, right. Anouska.
No, it's not. It's a vast Malaysian village that's built up on poles over the rivers because they didn't have enough, there's not enough land in Malaya to actually have houses on the flat. And so they support these villages on poles. And you've got to come in your little rowboat up the pole, and the whole thing is called a tunk.
Yep. It's a washing tub in Cheshire, it once was, kind of a tax, a Welsh tax, long time ago, and a Malayan village on poles. Frank to choose.
We're in total agreement this side. Got the faintest idea.
It's a very promising start.
13th century Welsh. It's a long time ago. Tunks for the memory. I'm not sure that you, in fact, fillet pigs in warm water, do you?
Don't look at me, sir.
Not a grain of help. Or a Malaysian village on stilts. Well, I'm going to go, I don't know how I'm in agreement with me, for Paddy's ridiculous land tax.
The land tax of which Patrick did speak. Welsh, 13th century, true or bluff?
I'm so glad for you, Frank.
You're a winner. Long time ago, but it's true, it was that sort of tax in that sort of part of the world, in that country, Wales.
What a nice game, isn't it?
Stagnum, don't gloat, Frank. Stagnum is the next one, and Robert Powell kicks off.
As I was saying when I was interrupted, if you were in Worcestershire...
Thought you said it was Gloucestershire.
No, it was Worcestershire.
No, Worcestershire.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Listening to the weather forecast, and a man did come on and say there would be bright periods broken by quinkles of rain. You could, in fact, verify this by having a look at your stagnum. A stagnum is an extremely important, nay, vital part of a barometer. It is the little bowl cistern at the bottom of a barometer which contains the mercury, which expands and contracts according to atmospheric pressure.
OK, so, Diana, your turn.
A stagnum is something which I would quite like to have myself. It is an earlier version of a lavender bag, if you like. It was a device for making clothes smell sweet, usually made of wood. In rich houses, it would be made of precious aromatic wood, sandalwood, cedar wood, and sometimes it would be used as a false bottom in a chest. A box which would fit in the bottom of a chest. There would be holes perforated in it, and there would be sweet herbs inside the box, so that the aroma would perfume your linen and make you smell delightful. Now, if you were less wealthy, it would not be made of aromatic wood. It would be made of a bit of old oak or something. But you would have sweet herbs inside it.
Righty-ho. Now, whose turn? Yes, it's Frank's, your turn.
The Romans didn't like having one of these. It was made of sort of pottery or clay, and it had a magistrate's cipher on it. And when you went to buy a pound of Brussels sprouts, or whatever you bought in Rome, so could I have a pound of Brussels sprouts? And the chap would say, Dexter, Squire, Dexter. And you had to show him, by law, you had to show him this token because it meant that you were bankrupt. And it was the thing that you had to show when you went to purchase anything.
If you were a bankrupt. Right. It was what you showed if you were bankrupt in Rome at that time. Sort of box containing aromatic herbs, the perfume, the box in which the linen was, and it's vital part of a barometer. Nigel Havens.
Just a moment.
We'll be with you in a moment.
We're a quarter of an hour.
Can I sing?
It won't be 1 second. Just sing it. Do you like that? Well, I don't...
Wait a minute.
He's out on his own.
Why don't you just start,
I'm going to
Nigel?
start. I'm not madly keen on the sweet herbs, because the word stagnum sounds like stagnant, and that sort of doesn't smell very sweet. But there could be a bluff. So
Yes, that's good thinking.
I'm not that keen about this bankrupt business at all either.
I'd eschew it.
Oh, dear. But I'm quite keen on this rain detector. I mean, let's get... part of a barometer, I mean. Let's get this rain off our chest, shall we? I'm going to get the Worcestershire drizzling. Blah.
The Worcestershire... The part of the barometer.
That's it,
Whether
barometer.
you're travelling through Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, or whatever. Robert Powell, true or bluff?
Please.
Said.
Oh, what a shame.
We get a point. We better get a point.
You were trying to nag him out of it, I saw that.
No, we weren't.
Oh, you weren't?
No.
Sounded like that to me. 2-1, yes, stagnum is essential part of the barometer. Marish is the next word. Nigel, off you go with it.
Right. A mariche, I'll say that again. A mariche is a Caribbean cake. A little tiny Caribbean cake that is served at Caribbean tea parties. It's a little different from ordinary cake because they don't use the flour that we use. They use a special flour that they get from palm trees. So it's a nice, light Caribbean cake. Mariche.
It's just the light flower from palm trees that really fetched me there. Anouska, your turn.
Well, a marichi is a wild beast that roams the jungles of Cambodia, and it's reputed to have the head of a woman and the tail of a scorpion. And no one's ever really seen it, but that's what it is.
Well, how do you know if nobody's seen it?
It's reputed to have the head of a young woman and the tail of a scorpion.
She's heard tell. Patrick, your go.
Mariche. It's a French word. There must be some copper lying around the Bay of Arcachon.
Policeman.
I'll begin again. Mariche. But anyway, and the Bay of Arcachon near Bordeaux. All the oysters have got a very faint kind of greenish tinge about them, not because they're bad, but because they're coloured by this lovely word, mariche, which must be some derivative from a policeman. Thank you for that.
Well, it seems to be some kind of green stuff that oozes out of policemen who are lying around in oyster bed. No, it's green anyway, that much we do know, and it colours oysters. It's a Caribbean cake, small one, and a fabulous beast. So, Robert, your turn.
I haven't the faintest idea.
Good start.
Not the faintest.
I don't know.
Can't help.
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch.
I think.
Which? You like that?
Because I think if you change your mind at the last minute, it sometimes works. You've got a 33 1/3 chance, Robert.
Yes, I know.
Dive in.
Yes, oysters. No, thank you very much indeed.
It'd been a pleasure.
No, it's all right. I'm trying to work out what is the middle of this animal. If it has the head of a woman and the tail of a scorpion, what's its middle bit?
They're not sure. That's
I see,
unidentified.
that's a bit they haven't seen. It
Yes,
hide behind
they
trees.
can't quite get that together.
And cakes. Let him eat cakes.
He's right on the ball.
The animal from Cambodia.
The fabled beast Anouska Hempel spoke of that. Was she telling true, or was it a bluff? Inscrutable.
Unidentified.
You got it! Got it all on his own. I think Frank was trying to tell him to say it was a cake. I'm not so sure. 3-1. Well. The next word is oak, and Diana, it's your turn.
An oak is a cutler's word.
Who?
A cutler, a person who deals in knives and scissors and such like. For the little groove that runs along the blunt side of a penknife blade.
Yeah.
It's the ridge that the indentation rather that allows you to open the blade. An oak.
Never know. Frank, your turn.
An oak is a kind, I suppose I can best describe it as saying it's a coal miner's cloakroom ticket. You see, when miners go underground, they have to empty their pockets of anything inflammable, such as cigarettes, tobacco, matches, lighters, and they're given a little numbered tag in exchange, which is called an oak.
Yep. Now, who comes next? Robert Powell.
If I may be allowed to bring in a little arithmetical problem into this. If a pint of water weighs 1.25 pounds, might I ask you, how much would 2/3 of a quart weigh?
6.
Well, the answer is 2 pounds 11 ounces, approximately. And if you were Egyptian, you would have known that. Because an oak is a unit of measurement of weight and capacity in Egypt. And it is 2/3 of a quart and 2 pounds 11 ounces.
Splendid. It's a sort of Egyptian measure. It's the groove on the blunt side of the penknife. You've often wondered what it was called. And it's a receipt taken by a coal miner when he gives up the stuff that he mustn't take down the mine. So, Anouska, your turn.
Well, I think the whole thing sounds like a joke, and it just really is very bamboozling, because I don't think it is. If you put your finger on the oak, do you, Patrick?
I don't know yet.
Okay. Sounds good, but I don't think it's quite right. Coal miner's cloakroom ticket tag thing sounds like a wonderful idea, and I think Frank might be right. And an Egyptian measurement, after having gotten the barometer thing before, sort of. Would you excuse me for half an hour?
Yes.
Diana, I think it might be the thing in the groove.
She said it was
convinced me. The little thing that you put your
groove
finger
on the penknife. You're going to choose that one.
Yes.
It was Diana Quick who said it.
Yes.
True or bluff?
It broke my duck.
Got to be called something, but it's not called that. Who gave the true definition of oak? He's got it. Egyptian measure, both of weight and, as he said, capacity. Prolong or prolonge, or pronounce it as you will. And Anouska Hempel, your turn.
A prolonge is a sort of a flexible piece of whalebone that they used to carry around in the 16th century. A member of the family always had it in his pocket, because it was a useful thing to be able to get out sort of fish bones and things out of one's throat if one sort of got stuck at a dinner party or something. It was flexible. It didn't pierce the larynx or the pharynx or anything. It just sort of went down because it was flexible. You could hoik it out. It's a prolonge.
Not a pretty picture. Patrick's turn now.
It's called prolonger. It's an old military term used by artillerymen. Say now you're in charge of a huge cannon, and the cannon is pointing at your own base. And before anyone pulls the string on it, you got to point it the other way towards the enemy, don't you? Right? And so what you do, you get your prolonger at work, which is a system of hooks and ropes and rings and pulleys, and you prolong her round towards the enemy and away from your alleged friends at headquarters.
That's what he says. Now, Nigel Havers.
Oui, bien sûr. Le prolonge was in fact, with a capital P, was in fact French ministers, a council of French ministers in North America, Louisiana to be exact, before the Americans came. When the Americans came, they all bunged them into prison because they were naughty, corrupt people. 1803, actually, was the date they put them all into prison. But it was a council of French ministers. Le prolonge.
Very good, very good. We get a lot of accents here. That was a good one. Council of Ministers, rope for tucking guns round about, and flexible whalebone for sticking down your throat if something has lodged there quite a long time ago. Diana, your turn to choose.
Help. What do you think?
Just zoom in.
Now.
With confidence.
Le prolonge.
Debbie.
No.
No?
Pas pour moi. No, I don't think so. It's a little too feasible.
Oh, really?
No, the whalebone throat pick. I've never heard of such a thing in my life. Would be quite useful, I suppose. Prolong, as in tongue, could it be? That's quite...
Fish bones don't go down that far, do they?
They shouldn't.
I think you eat a piece of bread, don't you, if you get a fish bone stuck in your throat, rather than try and hoist it out with a piece of whalebone. And as for a device for moving cannon, well, you're rather foolish if you have your cannons pointing at your own team anyway, aren't you? What do you think?
It's a 2-to-1 chance, my dear.
Yes, we think, Paddy, but you just go.
I'm going to go for the...
Spence.
The cannon, Patrick!
He did say it was ropes that you did to turn it round if it was pointing the wrong way. True or bluff, Patrick?
We always believe on this team that losing is fun.
A prolonger is exactly what he said it was. System of ropes to turn guns round. 5-1, and we come to the word mormar. And Frank Muir is going to tell you what it is.
Have you thought of the predicament of a Cornishman wanting to collect gulls' eggs? Because, you know, the gulls are halfway down a cliff, very high cliff, peer over and vertigo. So what they do is they get some friends, or could be family, and organise a mormar, which is a kind of simple wooden seat and some ropes and stuff, and they lower him down on one of those. And he keeps kicking against the cliff as he goes down, and when he comes to a gull's nest, "Stop," he says, gathers in the gull's eggs, "Haul on the mormar," and up he goes again.
So, now, what does Robert Powell say?
The Belgians believe that if you drink enough of this mormar, which is a drink made from white wine and herbs, it will dissolve your gallstones, if you have any. They also believe that if you drink enough of it and it doesn't dissolve your gallstones, You don't really care whether it has done or not. So it's very effective that way. It's a drink.
Drink, right. Diana.
A mormar is a nautical term. If you found yourself in a storm at sea and the bilge was full of water, your captain might well cry, "All hands to the pumps," or "All tars to the mormar." A mormar was a drainage pump from the bilge to get rid of water, to keep your boat afloat.
Righto. Belgian drink it is. Sort of hanging seat for going down the side of cliffs, pick up gull's eggs, and it's a pipe that discharges the water from, I presume, the side of the ship. Patrick.
I'm afraid that Diana has never been off land, off dry land, into a boat, because a kind of drainage into the bilge pump would not be required, because the bilge pump is what drains the water out of the boat. There's such ignorance in nautical matters there that I dismiss that. I think. You're still in the game, dear. Don't go away. All Belgians don't have gallstones to be dissolved, surely. It's just a it isn't even
one hypothetical Belgian.
Who's doing this? It almost sounds like Walloon. Well, it must be something to do with this wretched gull collection, or is it? Aha, good point there. I think it is, fearlessly, because losing is fun.
You're choosing, Patrick, the seat that Frank said was lowered over the cliff to get gull's eggs in Cornwall. True or bluff, Frank?
You may be having fun, but I'm having a rotten evening.
They don't do that. They may do that, but it's not called that. Who gave the true definition?
Not you.
Oh, yes?
That's
I am ashamed of you, Patrick, and you an admiral and everything.
Yeah.
We've only got time for a very, very quick one, but time we have if we speed on. Patrick, this one, C.
You've got a tight boot on and a corn. Yep. You're in agony. Well, a sharp little CG. Well, it's a pad in order to ease your corn in a tight boot.
Do nicely. Nigel, very quickly.
Lying on the beach at Clacton or Brighton or wherever, and you listen very carefully and you hear siege, because it's the sound of surf hitting the sand.
Lovely. That'll do very nicely. Anouska.
No, siege is a verb, which is the traditional vice of the British cook. They siege everything up. They make a mash, and they make a horrible sort of, out of cabbage and mashed potatoes and parsnips, they make a siege, which tastes terrible. It's a mash.
It's a sort of mash of all those things she said. Very English. Sound of surf on the shore, and it's a pad in a boot to stop it hurting you if you've got a bunion. Frank.
J'accuse cornplaster paddy.
True or bluff, Patrick? Let's have it, lad.
At long last, you're out to lunch. Very fair.
Must have the true definition before everything stops. It's there. It's there. Yeah, it's the sound of surf on the shore. Say that quickly, but I won't attempt it. Well, the score's standing at 6-2. It's quite plain. Frank's team has won.
Well done.
So we'll be back with the halt and the lame from the Oxford English Dictionary next week, another batch of them. And till then, goodbye from Robert Powell. Nigel Havers. Joanna Quick. Anouska Hempel. Frank Muir.
Good night.
Patrick Campbell. And goodbye. Bluff, featuring the Admiral of the Scouse boats, Patrick Campbell.
Good evening. We were thunderstruck last week to, well, not to lose, but to be beaten, I suppose. but unless I've asked back, beautiful little crazy mixed-up bundle, Australian, Russian and German, Anouska Hempel. And the gentleman jockey having fallen off 4 or 5 times, getting in my way all the time. Still the horseman riding by, Nigel Havers. That's a half over.
And old lofty, Frank Muir.
Well, of course, I've persuaded back from the Royal Shakespeare Company Diana Quick. And from the Bible and the 39 Steps, Robert Powell.
Bell rings like that. And we get the first word, and it's twing. And Patrick and his team will define twing 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are no good, they're bogus. 1 is true, that's the one that Frank and go try and pick out. So off you go, Patrick. Twing.
Twing! As opposed to twang. If you've got a bow and arrow, 1 bow and 1 arrow, they fit all in, and you pull back the string, I let the arrow go, and it goes ding! You're over-breached. You've got your bowstring too tight. If your bowstring, the proper condition, a proper tension, it would have gone twang into the bull's eye, but not twing.
Well, well. Nigel Havers tells you a twing, I was going to say a thing.
It's a lovely word, isn't it?
Twing. Rather.
A twing is, in parts of Staffordshire, a lady's work basket. What they do is they put all their sewing and their needles and their cotton and their thread into this little basket. It can be made of cane or rush or anything you like. And it's a twing, sewing, twing.
So that's it. That's what he says. Anouska Hempel now.
Well, a twing is a small spider that has a body the size of a pinhead. And it's fiery red. And it comes in sort of swarms in the autumn, and it gets into the bales of hay in the country, and it lives in there and makes sort of furry messes all over the place. And if the cattle eat the bales of hay, plus the spiders, the cattle often die.
Well, they can only die once.
Well, twing, they say it means various things. It's the noise a bowstring makes if it's too taut. It's a work basket, I think Staffordshire is the place, and it's a spider. Frank Muir can choose.
After all that rubbish with the bow, we don't think it's the bowstring that's tight. It's...
I don't understand.
I have to. The sewing basket, because it's sewing twing, or the cow-killing spider. As one man, we choose the sewing basket.
Sewing basket, work basket, Staffordshire. Nigel Havers said it. True or bluff?
Well, we start off with the
Who gave the true definition? Because that certainly wasn't it. Here it comes.
Doesn't matter, really. It's too late now.
Oh, you see.
What about that?
It's a little spider, rather nasty little spider. What-ins is our next word. Frank Muir is going to tell you all about it.
What a strange word that is. I wonder what dictionary Peter Moore uses to pick up... What do you think is the longest word we've ever had on this show. What do you think is the longest run of one team winning? What's the name of your tailor, Paddy? Just to avoid... I'm just... What on earth am I going on like this for? Because Wattins is just that.
What?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I won't go on. Wattins is a Victorian nickname for somebody who's tediously inquisitive, a child or a man. Just as what all the time.
I see, yes, yes. Right, off you go then, Robert Powell.
What in heaven's name would be a cry that could be heard all over 15th century England, or 16th century, come to that, from bedroom windows at 3 o'clock in the morning, as the medieval equivalent of the ton-up boys went past on their 1000cc nags. And the noise of their hooves on the cobbles used to wake people up. So they stuck straw, dried hay, tired straw out on the streets to muffle the sound of the carriages and the horses. It's a farmer's word for tired straw.
Did they? I mean, was it?
Diana?
Is it?
Wattins is, Patrick,
I'm listening now.
Wattins
You get on with it. I'm listening.
is a stuffing material. It's a material that you use to pad out clothes, not furniture. Bustles and shoulders and doublets and what have you. And it was usually cotton wool, but it could be anything that... Yes, Anouska. It could be anything that came to hand. Cotton wool, newspaper, horsehair, what you will.
So they say, kind of personal padding you stick about your person if you feel it necessary. Kind of nosy parka and sort of straw they put down in the streets to stop the noise. Patrick?
There are certain rules in this game. There's only one rule in this game that's got to be observed. The true definition has got to be true. So that in the 15th century, or come to that, the 16th century, 1000cc nags were not around. It was a gallant bid, lads. Very sorry. Now,
So we come to...
Wattins, stuffing, basket, what? It must be the people that ask questions just like you do.
That was Frank who said it, wasn't
I'm
it?
asking you a question, is it right?
Frank said that it was a nosy parka. True or bluff?
Hurry up.
What's the answer?
Who can tell?
It's true. Oh.
No, nothing to do with anything that Frank then said, but now we must learn who gave the true definition. One of the other two was the true one. Oh, they tease it out, but there it is. It's anything you use for padding, put it any way you like, false calves, shoulders, all that sort of thing. One all. And lutum is the next one. Nigel Havers to define it for you.
May God go with you and all. Please sit down and eat your dinner.
Thank you.
You see, what it is, a lutum is, it's very simple, really. It's a piece of monastic furniture. It's something on the top of a pulpit. And it looks a bit like a witness box, really. And in monasteries, you find that Brother Nigel will go up and read from the Bible while the other brothers eating their lunch. It's a piece of monastic furniture.
It's the thing. It's the pulpit, is it, or
Yes.
the thing on the top? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, well, it's thereabouts. So, Anouska, your turn.
A lutum is a marginal notation. It's something that you write in the margin of a manuscript when you want to correct it or you want to extend something that's being written or make your notes in it. And those who are Latin scholars will know that lutum, plural, is not lutums, it's luta.
Patrick's turn now. Here he comes.
Lutum was a homemade compound made by medieval do-it-yourselfers, or do-it-yourselfers. Yeah. and medieval handymen finding a hole in the roof or even the wall. Basically, they make up the lutum. Now, this was no small deal because, first of all, you've got to get a lot of mud together and then shave a horse to get some horsehair off it, and then temporarily stun an ox to get some blood out of it. Mix it all together and bung it in the hole. It sets as hard as cement, and there you've got a dry little medieval nest with your lutum. Oh, boom.
Yep. So it's a sinister sounding sort of plaster that you plugged walls with a long time ago. Part of a pulpit, and comments written in the margin. Robert.
I've no idea.
Good.
I can't bluff this one out. Marginal writing. I actually did Latin for a long time, and I can't bring to mind the word lutum. I must admit.
Can you do that?
Mind you, that doesn't mean to say anything. Anyway, monastic furniture. I don't know. I think it's something you stuff in the wall.
You said that,
Patrick.
didn't you, Patrick? Yes, Patrick said it. True or bluff?
Happy
You can
Paddy.
stuff it in your wall.
Homemade plaster, long time ago. 2-1, and we go on to Shewell, or Shoal, I suppose. Robert Powell.
Shul, or shoal, it doesn't really matter, is in fact, the word correctly belongs with the gypsies and tinkers, because it is a Romany word, and it means a place of rest, a halting place for a gypsy encampment, rather like a Romany butlins, where you can get water and a place for the horses.
Okay, and now Diana Quick.
A shewel is a sort of scarecrow, except it's not meant to shoo away crows, but to shoo away stags. Stags. And it's a fairly ramshackle arrangement of pieces of paper and rags and what have you, which you place strategically to stop a stag running in a certain direction, if there's a field you don't want it to go in.
What a silly plan, with due respect.
Never know. Might work.
Yeah.
Might work. Frank.
Sure, don't see much of them these days, except occasionally on the bottom of fly fishermen's waders. It's a hobnail. You know, the hobnails were all sorts of designs, and a shawl was one which was rather a bit like a, not very much, but a bit like a thumbtack, a drawing pin. But it was built up. It had a pyramid shape to it, which sort of stopped quarrymen from slipping down shale and things like that. Sure.
No, kind of a hobnail. It's a scarecrow for scaring stags, and it's kind of a halt, a watering place. Nigel.
I'm so confident.
Good.
I don't need to consult anyone, really.
Good.
I'm going straight in there. I've never seen a gypsy at Butlins. I don't think that's really on at all, that. I'm not madly keen on shoe awaying all the, what was it, deers or something?
Stags.
Stags. I don't think it's sort of, I don't like that very much. I'm quite keen on this sort of boot, this thing on the end of a boot. This sort of nodule. It stops you slipping. I think that's rather good, that. I like that.
Well, that's a funny thing to like, but you're going to choose that. That's what Frank said. Now, let's see whether the lad chose well. True or
Let me
bluff?
see.
I'm not disgraced. It's true, isn't it?
Oh! He liked it, but it wasn't true. Who gave the true definition now? Here it comes. 1, 2, 3, go.
Oh, not again.
Yes, indeedy. The scarecrow that scares stags. What else would you expect it to be? Now, at 3-1, we have Marisma. Anouska, your turn.
Well, the marisma is a boggy area at the bottom of a river called the Guadalquivir in southern Spain.
Hang on.
And for all those...
Hang on, spelling.
And for all those people who are nature freaks and things, they'll know that there's a most wonderful black stilted bird called black-winged stilt that lives in this rather boggy, marshy area.
Stilton bird.
Stilted, long legs on stilts, black.
It's a great
bird.
cheese bird.
It's not the bird, it's the marsh, is it?
No,
you
yes,
say?
but I'm sorry, the bird lives
Yeah.
in the marsh, and the marsh is called
Just
the
wanted to be clear.
Marisma.
Eating the
for my
cheese.
notes. I carefully file all these afterwards. Patrick.
Merisma is a nervous affliction that causes the eye involuntarily to wink. Wait. If you've got merisma, you want to keep out of the underground if it's available. You'll be sitting there between Gloucester Road and where the next stop is. I get a little attack of merisma. And you might make a new friend or get a thick ear.
Right now, Nigel has a go.
Well, if you were a draftsman, you'd be very proud to have a merisma. Now, can I borrow your pencil, Patrick?
Certainly, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Because what it is it's a machine that draws parallel lines very accurately. And you slip two pencils into this machine, and then you can draw, in any direction, parallel lines that will always be the same distance between each other.
Good Lord.
It makes what you learn every day, isn't it?
Clever, isn't it?
That's all it is. It's very, very useful.
For drawing parallel lines is what it's useful for, this draftsman's instrument, he says. Then it's something, an eyelid quiver, and it's a Spanish marsh near the Guadalquivir. Diana, your turn.
I wonder what Nigel wants to draw parallel lines for.
Railway lines. Just an
Why do you
idea.
want to draw a ruler?
Yes, quite.
You were a
No,
draftsman,
no.
though.
No, that doesn't appeal to me at all. No merisma for parallel lines. Now, I'm not clear what Anouska was saying. Is she talking about the boggy area, or is she talking about
Talking
the
about the
bird?
boggy area, that's where I got
The
it down.
marisma. And Patrick's is so improbable. I'm going for that.
You're choosing the
I'm
quiver
going
of the
for the
eyelid.
wink.
The involuntary wink. Patrick, own up. True or bluff? Now we need to know the true definition of marisma. One of you's got it, I know.
Oh, it was.
Well, I'm blowed. It's the Spanish marsh.
Bog.
3-2. Tahona's the next one, and Diana, quick, defines it.
A tahona is a hairdo. Now, if I were to put my hair up here and brush it a lot
Steady.
and make a parting anywhere I like
Yes, yes.
and make all this into a big knot on the top here,
Yeah.
I would
good.
be thought to be the bee's knees in Polynesia.
The what?
The bee's knees. This is a tahona, this hairdo. Well, I mean, they would do it with more style. But it is a Polynesian hairdo, rather like an afro, which men and women both affect.
Well, well. I've never seen a woman take that sort of risk on this show before. Frank.
Tahona is music specially written for the Welsh harp. Now, Powell ap Griffith, a Welsh... Powell ap Griffith, a noted writer of music for the Welsh harp, for those who enjoy music for the Welsh harp, has written 300 of these tahonas. And oft on a silly night in the Welsh mountains, when the Eisteddfod's going, you can hear a tahona being plucked.
Plucked?
So it's Welsh harp music.
We're talking about a hen.
The hens can't play them. They haven't got the music.
They would if they could, but they can't, as you rightly say. Robert, your turn.
Imagine, if you will, a mule walking round in circles. Don't laugh. serious. There's a mule walking round in circles. Attached to this mule is a pole. And attached to the other end of the pole is a large mill wheel, which is turning round on a smaller mill wheel. And there is somebody shoving large lumps of ore, silver or stuff under it to make it into smaller lumps of silver. And the man would be an American, and it'd be probably a long time ago, because it's a primitive device for breaking down silver ore in America.
Well, sharp music it is. Polynesian hairdo and a sort of grinder or crusher for reducing ore to whatever the load is. Anouska.
Not quite ready yet, do you mind?
I'm getting some advice.
You're out on your own, darling.
Oh, that's really mean.
Get on with it.
Right, Mrs. It has to be
Oh, she's doing it too. That's marvellous.
the Tahuna. Now, I've probably got it all wrong. There's a place in New Zealand called Tahuna Nui.
What about
Where,
the other one?
hang on, I'm homing in here, you see.
Oh, I
where
see,
all
right.
the ladies do actually wear their hair like that with whale bones and prongs and things through them, and one thing and another. Tahuna is such a funny word for Welsh harp concerto or whatever it is, and the mule going round in circles didn't appeal to me. I think it's just purely the hairdo.
You think
Diana.
that all that work that Diana put into the hairdo is
probably
because it was
terribly
true?
obvious, but
Well,
I
true or
really-
bluff, Diana? It was all Stanislavski, was that? Who gave the true definition? Yes, you've got it there, I'm sure. Yes, yes. It's the little sort of millstone, as it were, for grinding ore. And we have Unica, or I suppose you pronounce it any which way. Patrick.
In Anouska. We're back to Polish, but not mules this time. We get back to Polish infantrymen. We're not walking around in circles, but they're defending Poland against the invading hordes of Mongolians, 13th century, and they are not breaking down silver into smaller pieces of silver. I don't believe that was true anyway.
It was.
But these lads these Anoukas, they were armed with pikes that for long distance work, they had the old-fashioned sling. A rock and a pouch and a piece of string, psst, and bong. And they nearly always missed. At least they were putting up a good fight.
Outrageous fortune.
But it was the chaps, was it, or the sling?
No, the Polish infantrymen.
Oh, the
Polish
chaps.
infantrymen, 13th
Yes, that's right.
infantrymen.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's right. I got that bit down. Right.
Right.
Now, Nigel, what about you?
Unica is actually a heavy clay that comes from North America, and it was used to make very cheap china. And believe it or not, the first people to export it were some Red Indians. They made a lot of money, too. Which is good for them. Very good indeed. That's what it is.
Good. Oh, right.
Clay, gooey.
Like clay. Make a lot of money. Anouska.
Well, Unica is a verb, and to know what Unica means, you've got to know what Aka means. And Aka means harnessing something together, putting the yoke on the oxen, and then the oxen taking the cart away. And so to unaka something is to the reversal of Aka.
I see. It means to unyoke something. Yes, to unyoke something. Kind of clay, and it's a Polish soldier, infantryman. Frank.
One asks oneself, does one not? One asks oneself, what is a word for sling-carrying Polish soldiers fighting Mongolians doing in the Oxford English Dictionary?
It's in there. It's called Anouska.
Oh dear. And for that matter, what is heavy clay mined by Red Indians and exported. Why would anybody buy cheap clay from Indians, which they'd have to import?
It's
You
ice
don't
cold
import
reasoning.
cheap clay from Indians.
Very good.
I don't know. Or an acca is to reverse a harness. Well, quite clearly, a non-British word, acca, presumably. So clearly, all signs point that it's to unharness
To
beast.
unyoke or unharness, that was Anouska, true or
Who does
bluff?
that? Oh no, I'm a boobed. Yes.
We need the true definition now. We are unsatisfied until we get it.
It's neither of them.
It's there. All that clay in the Indians.
Yes, and Miss Quick got it too, and I wouldn't listen.
And if all those words weren't in the dictionary, Frank, we'd all be out of a job, so don't knock it. Let's have another word quick.
Is this all you do?
Skeet is the next one. 4-3. All hinges on this, or a lot does anyway. Frank.
The skeet is a bird of ill omen, which puts the wind up the Shetland Islanders. It's mythical. It's supposed to look not at all unlike a hooded crow, and it is said never to sleep. Well, there aren't any trees there, so probably couldn't sleep anyway. Mythical bird of ill omen, Shetland Isles.
Okay, so he says. Well, now, Robert Powell's turn.
In Glasgow, the Skeeter's Waltz is not a melody by Strauss. It's not. Because a skeeter is a pickpocket. It's somebody who takes things. So skeet, in fact, is a Scottish word meaning manually adroit, nimble-fingered. Skeet.
Okay. Diana?
Just as you have a pride of lions or a clan of Campbells, you have a skeet of hermits.
Vermin.
No, not vermin, Patrick. Hermits.
Oh, hermits.
Hermits. In the Greek Orthodox Church, if you wish to go into retreat, you would not go off entirely by yourself. You would go into a community of anchorites, each living separately and alone, but in a community, and that community would be called a skeet.
So what it is, it's a noun, a
retreat.
group noun for hermits, anchorites. It's a bird of ill omen, and it means rather good with your hands, dexterous. Patrick?
It's hard to think of any nation thinking of
Very
itself as
quickly, if you
manually
will.
adroit. Absolutely drivel about anchorites. After all that Henry Irving acting on tour, it's what you said.
Who's you in this case? Oh, you're not. Oh, I shouldn't have asked. It's
Lofty
always,
Roman bird.
it's always lofty when he says you.
After
Draw
all
bluff,
that
Frank.
noise.
Rather quickly, please. No, it isn't. Now, have the true definition before we draw stumps. We'll have to have that. Ah, there it is. There it is. It's a group of hermits, and on that, the game is decided with beyond a peradventure. 5-3.
Let's have 3 more words.
Frank has won again. Yes. More words next week that didn't quite catch on. Until then, goodbye from Nigel Havers. Goodbye. Robert Powell. Anouska. Diana Cook.